Mafia 1 was undoubtedly an amazing and very impactful game, but when Mafia 2 was announced and eventually came out, it had a pretty large shoes to fill in. And in this video, we're going to be taking a look at Mafia 2 Definitive Edition and whether it was to buy right now or not. So without further ado, let's just get it started. By the way, we already reviewed Mafia 1 Definitive Edition, and here, as always, I'm not going to be wasting your time and giving you the answer right away whether Mafia 2 Definitive Edition is worth it or not. And the answer is yes, Mafia 2 Definitive Edition is worth it. However, for me, at least personally, it feels like because first game got much more attention in Definitive Edition because it had much more things to do, this game actually feels like a bit of a downgrade, at least in the writing and the story wise. But by no means this is a bad game. It's actually a pretty great game and absolutely worth your time. But let's just go into the details. Oh, and by the way, our Steam Curator page is already up and running, so if you want to see all of my reviews, videos, and a little bit of text review right there on Steam before you're gonna buy anything, just go and follow us there on Steam so that you will not miss my reviews when you are buying the games. Now back to the video. So what even is Mafia 2? As you can understand, Mafia 2 is the sequel to first Mafia, and unlike the first game, which was happening in 1930s, this game is happening in mid-1940s to early 1950s. You're playing as Vito Scaletta, and you are Italian-American from an Empire Bay, which is kind of like an analog of New York City. You're growing up in this neighborhood, and you are, let's say, kind of like a criminally inclined guy, unlike Tommy Angelo from the first game. And you want to prove yourself in this world. And don't worry, I'm not gonna be giving you any spoilers, despite game being more than a decade old already. But what I'm going to do is talk about the actual story and writing, because this is actually the central point of Mafia games. And let me tell you this one thing, the game story is pretty good, but writing, voice acting, and pacing can be a bit all over the place. Unlike the first game. First game had superb writing and an entire game felt like one very big story. Here, this is more like a collection of the small stories and you are just going and living through them. But to be fair, it's nothing exceptional. All of the missions are kind of unique and have their own flair. But I won't lie to you, despite me playing this game already a second time, first time I played it when it came out originally. Well, to be fair, Vito does not feel as a likable character as Tommy Angelo did. I know it may not be fair to compare it with the first game, but yeah, a lot of people will be comparing it. Because unlike Tommy Angelo, Vito is not kind of good person. While Tommy was doing everything to feel, well, good and feel happy in this life, Vito is doing everything to, well, kind of like prove something to someone that he can be a big shot and things like that. And yet, it did not click with me as much as it did with Tommy. Plus, because the presentation is literally a little bit of an upgrade from 2010 version, unlike the Definitive Edition, which is a huge upgrade from 2002 version, here storytelling and voice acting is not as impactful as it was in the first Definitive Edition. And yeah, it just sours the taste a bit. Even though it's not that bad, the face animation looks far more outdated than in the first Definitive Edition. But granted, the story here itself and missions here themselves are far more varied, and you're gonna meet far more characters that you're gonna remember more or less well compared to the first game. But what about the game itself? What about the gameplay? How game, well, plays? And that's where the biggest difference between the first and second game actually shows itself. Because the second game is closer to GTA than it is to Mafia. Let me explain. In the first Mafia game, there was not much to do in kind of like an open world. All you could do is just drive around and maybe piss off police and just chase them around, etc, etc. Here, there are much more things to do, and the map is actually dotted around with different stuff to do. Like, for example, the gas in your cars actually play a far bigger role, because you will actually run out of the gas if you are driving the same car over and over again. The open world has far many things to do. There are gun shops, there are clothing shops that you can buy, there are mini missions that you can do, like you can steal the cars and sell them, and unlike the first game, you actually have the money meter. First game did not have money meter. You did not know how much money you had. In the second, you know it all the time, because it plays a huge role in the game. And the city itself is also a bit different. Granted, because the Definitive Edition here is not as huge difference like it was with the first game, yeah, the city does not look that great. It looks kinda like a bit an old GTA versions, like it looks more like San Andreas than it looks like GTA 5. I mean the city life-wise. Police is patrolling everything, and yeah, police is another thing as well, because the police system in the game has changed from the first one. Like in the first game, any type of small violation could, well, put you all the cops around you, well, to chase you. But here it's not like that. For example, if you are speeding and you will whiz past through the police, they might not even have enough time to react to you, and might not even have time to just actually, well, search for you. And if they will, and if they will start pursuing you, and if you get to like high star levels, they might actually give a wanted poster for you, and you will be actually searched based on the clothing that you have, and even based on the cars that you drive. So you need to change your clothing constantly, and you need to change your cars as well. Or you would need to clean your cars, basically buying a new license plates. And yes, all of those things are pretty good, but I won't lie to you, it feels more like GTA, and I don't want another GTA. I don't want another Saints Row. I want Mafia game. I want more of a great stories of these criminal times. And yes, stories are there, but they're not hitting as hard as with the first one. And please don't get me wrong, there are a bunch of gut punches in the game. There are quite a lot of them. But they don't feel as impactful, to be fair, except for the very last one, if you know what I mean. Twists and turns in the game is like, yeah, don't worry about it, and yeah, you just move on. And does not feel that great, to be fair. Game has very interesting sequences, like for example, like World War II sequence, and even prison sequence, which were pretty great. And I like this change of pace from time to time, and it was pretty good. And the biggest change probably from the first game, and even from the definitive edition of the first game, is the gunplay, because this feels more like GTA, because you can carry a lot of guns. You can carry all of the guns. If in the first game you could carry only 2 guns with you, here you can carry as many guns as you want. You can carry all the pistols, you can carry all the Tommy guns, or the shotguns, or everything. You can carry everything and all of them all at the same time. Shooting feels more arcadey, and it's far easier to land headshots, and far easier to, well, get out of the combat pretty easily, even though you are pretty weak here as well. So, and you won't be able to tank damage the exact same way like in the first one. And you also here have a refilling health bar, which constantly refills up to, I think, around 70 to 80%, and the last 20% you can get by healing yourself with eating different food. All in all, gameplay feels okay, but I won't lie to you, the first game's gameplay, especially the simulation driving, felt a bit better. The police here is incredibly easy to shake off, and yeah, they won't be pursuing you because for some reason the AI here is completely dumb. If in the first game they were doing everything to catch you, and it was hell to run away from police, here it's way easier, like way easier to do that, which to be fair I didn't like. But everything can be forgiven if the price is right. So how much it will cost you. So game is available on Steam for the base price of $29.99 for tier 1 countries and $17.99 for tier 2 countries, and can go as low as $4.49 for tier 1 countries and $2.69 for tier 2 countries. Is it worth it for those prices? Actually, yes. It actually costs less than the first game, because Definitive Edition for the second game is much less drastic. It's more like a cleanup and updating to the modern standards, unlike the first game, which was completely remade. So was it worth for the full price or for the discounted price? Well, I would wait for the discounted price, because for $5, this game is insanely good value, no matter whether you will like it far less than the first one or not. $5 open world Mafia game, and yes, this game, unlike the first one, is an open world, because there are actually things to do in open world here. Yes, for $2 to $5, absolutely. This is just worth for the story alone. If you will not be doing anything in an open world, this is just worth it for the story alone. Granted, let me give you this disclaimer. The story is not very long as well. It will take you somewhere around 10, maybe 12 hours to complete the main campaign. But Definitive Edition has a few DLCs as well if you want to continue with the story. All in all, if you're gonna push the game to its absolute limits, because you have a lot of things to do in the game, like the collection of different stuff, including very adult posters. So if you're into this stuff, and I know that you are into this stuff, you might want to play the game for those posters. And all in all of those things will take you maybe around 50 or maybe even more hours to complete. So yeah, this game is absolutely worth it. Yes, in my opinion, this is worse than a remake of the first game, but this is a great game to buy, especially for the $5 nonetheless. So if you're gonna find this game for $5, go get it. But is it better than the Mafia 3? Well, we're gonna learn it in another video. Well, this is it for today. Thank you for being here with me. Like the video if you like it, subscribe for more videos like this one, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. See ya.